I don't know why you need somebody else's opinion. I grew up in Moldova. I know how it's to be living there.
I don't know.
I'm not forcing her to move.
But you literally told us that you're gonna make her move no matter what. No, you're gonna give her an ultimatum.
I didn't say an ultimatum, but
you
I said...
literally used that word.
Okay.
If the mom is not good, the kids are affected by it.
What's
if the
wrong in Moldova?
But Libby would be a stay-at-home mom taking care of your kids. If Libby cannot do that, don't talk about bringing mom in there.
Oh boy, with old castmates back, if there's one thing we can guarantee, you just know there's gonna be drama. And if you add to the mix alcohol and a house party, things have the potential to derail and ruin relationships very fast. So let's rewind to the start and find out what's happening with Elizabeth and Andrei, Jovi and Yara, and Alexei and Loren. So, when we catch up with Andrei and Libby, they're on a pirate ship and they're discussing their future.
I mean, we can't just go out on a pirate ship in Moldova. Like, there's no water anywhere.
We actually have neighboring countries that have pirates!
Now, as you may recall, the last time we saw Andrei and Elizabeth was on 90-Day Diaries. He'd just managed to convince her that they should uproot their family and all move permanently to Moldova. Libby agreed to the move, but when we catch up with them on this new show a couple of months after Diaries was filmed, Libby is no longer sure she wants to go. There's so many things that we're gonna miss here, Libby says, and you've got to say, considering not just all the problems that Andrei said that he had living in Moldova with all the corruption and stuff, not to mention how hard they've had to work in order to give him the right to live in America. It is quite the surprise that now he just wants to uproot everything and move back home. Like, I'm sorry, but saying that you have real-life pirates as neighbours isn't exactly a pro, is it? I mean, it's not exactly the kind of detail that will help you to convince your wife that this is a good idea, that it's safe, for example. And by the sounds of things, Andrei has a lot more convincing to do if he actually wants Libby to make this move.
I'm just attached to Florida. Like, there's a lot of things that I need to be happy, like in our home. I don't want to downgrade from what we have now in our house.
You will not.
Libby needs to be a bit more careful, dare I say it, a bit more truthful about how she phrases things. Saying she doesn't want to downgrade what they have in their house, in fact, literally listing out their washer and their dryer as reasons not to move, comes across as a little disingenuous. I mean, we all know household appliances aren't the real problem here. Like, she's just as able to get a washer in Moldova as she is in the US. Come on, it's not the moon. I think what she really has the problem with, what's really causing her to be uncomfortable, which, by the way, is completely valid, it's fair that she feels that way, is that she's worried she's going to be downgrading her life and her lifestyle. That's a huge concern, especially with a young family. So what's motivating Andrei? Why does he want to move? Well, aside from the cheaper cost of living, there is another reason he cites that seems to have a visible impact on Libby.
A family, you know, like we don't have practically family over here. The only person that we're talking is Chuck, and the rest of the cult is cut off from our life. That's it.
Just from the way he talks about her family, calling it a cult already tells you everything you need to know. Andrei complains that they don't have a family, but I wonder whose fault that is. Andrei isn't exactly the easiest guy to get along with, is he? I mean, it's not exactly as if he's tried particularly hard with Libby's family. Now, don't get me wrong, they suck too, right? Of course they do. But Andrei he's always had this attitude that he expects them to fall into line with him. And when inevitably that didn't happen, he put Libby in a horrible place. He made her choose between him or her own flesh and blood. Like, he's the one that's responsible for her cutting off her family, and now he wants to use that as a reason to move her away for good as well. Now, while they may have cut ties with her family, they haven't cut ties with old castmates. You see, this weekend they're heading off to Miami to Loren and Alexei's housewarming party. But, much to Andrei's disgust, Libby also wants to seek the counsel and the wisdom of Yara and Loren. As mums themselves, she wants to know how they'd react to this potential move.
Is that a mommy committee over there and you decide the fate of the whole world? Think that's gonna change my opinion?
I think it would be a good conversation to have with them.
Look, it's clear that Andrei doesn't want Libby to get anyone else's opinions. He just wants her to listen to him and do what he thinks is best. I mean, from the sounds of things, he doesn't even want her to factor being a mum into the equation. But, as much as he might not want it to, this will come up again soon. Now, in the meantime, Yara and Jovi have now moved to Miami, and what's more, they're also talking about having a second baby. Yara's a lot more comfortable now than she was when we saw them talking about this on The Last Resort. But that's not to say her mind has yet been made. She does still have some doubts.
You're never home, and then I made myself a single mother 6 months at a time. And on top of that, now we're going to be even busier because I'm starting a new business.
Now, they do say that their time on The Last Resort has helped them. They are now able to communicate a lot better. Their relationship is in a much better place. But, of course, that doesn't mean that having a second baby is by any means a walk in the park. Jovi's work does still see him go away for half a year at a time, and Yara tells us that she's expanding her fashion empire to also cater to puppy fashion. It's an interesting choice, particularly given that they don't have any pets themselves. Now, as for their big move from New Orleans to Miami, Miami's great and all, they tell us, but it does have some major drawbacks.
But it's also like me, Yara, and Mila in Miami, and no support.
I need to have a friend with who I can rely on if we're going to have a second baby.
Now, as we saw, Jovi and Yara did used to get a lot of support from Jovi's mum, but they're now on their own. Before agreeing to having another child, Yara wants them to build a support system, have some friends that they can rely on. But a small part of me does question whether this might be a delay tactic. Maybe given we know she didn't want a second child last time we saw her, maybe this is just another way to put it off for a little bit longer. I guess time will tell. But for now, she does say that she's hopeful Libby and Loren might end up becoming her support network. So speaking of Loren, how are Alexei and Loren doing?
We moved into a new home. The condo was too far upstairs and we needed some outdoors for the kids. And it feels great to be in your own house.
We're excited to be showing off our new home, to be having a housewarming party and inviting friends and old castmates, they tell us. And that is a point that becomes quite interesting later on. In fact, it's important to note that it's not just 90-day couples that will be there at this party. There's going to be a lot of their friends too. In fact, keep in mind a lady called Noga, one of Loren's best friends. She becomes central to a lot of the drama that's about to happen. Now, as everyone arrives, things start well, but it is quite a strange bunch of people to have together.
I think this group of people is really interesting, right? It can be like a recipe for success or a recipe for disaster. I don't know if anyone will be able to get along or if maybe everybody will be friendly. We'll see.
Jovi is slightly more optimistic than I am. You see, the reality is, all of these large personalities in a confined space is a recipe for disaster, especially if Andrei feels like other women are putting thoughts into Libby's mind, thoughts that he doesn't want her to have.
I don't know why you need somebody else's opinion. I grew up in Moldova. I know how it's to be living there.
I don't know.
Now, while the guys all go outside to the barbecue, Loren's friend is left playing with and looking after all the kids, while Libby, Loren and Yara talk in the kitchen.
As you know, Loren,
Yes,
we're going to Moldova.
I know. Not for a vacation.
We're moving there.
Why the would you move to Moldova?
Thank you.
Libby reveals that before she commits definitely to moving there, she and Andrei are going to go on a trip to check out the area, check out where they might live and whether or not she likes it. But as someone who comes from Eastern Europe herself, Yara might be one of the best people to ask about this move. Keep in mind, again, Libby herself makes no secret that she isn't quite sure about it. There are a lot of reasons why she's nervous.
It's corrupt and
It is.
not
Oh, this
connected.
is why you cannot move to Moldova. Because you say that Moldova is so corrupt. America is not corrupt.
It is.
Yeah.
Look, I agree with Yara. Bad things do happen everywhere, but let's not forget, there is a bit more to that story for Libby and Andrei. Andrei told us that he left Moldova because he was a policeman afraid of corrupt police. Like, he told us he was afraid he'd be framed by his co-workers unless he started agreeing to taking bribes. I mean, you can certainly understand why, with that experience very much at the forefront of Libby's thoughts, she's scared about what this return back to Moldova might mean for him and her family. It also raises the question, why would Andrei himself want to return if everything he's said about it is true? Libby feels like she's almost obligated to try living in Moldova for Andrei's sake. She feels like she owes it to him. But the other women there don't agree with that thought process at all.
You don't owe him nothing.
I don't believe that guilty, honestly. Like, I get it, he came here for her, but that's something they decided to do together.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? She didn't force him to come, and let's not forget, these two met in Ireland. He wasn't even living in Moldova at the time. He didn't leave his home for Libby, he left it long before he met her. Like, yes, she might want to try adapting to Moldovan life for him, but she also shouldn't be forced into doing that. Like, sadly, from the sounds of things, Andrei is prepared to force her.
I'm gonna give her an ultimatum.
Really?
It's moving, or we can separate, do the separate ways.
You're gonna leave her, she's not gonna move? We're gonna go separate ways?
For as insane as that statement is, let's just take a pause here for a second. It's pretty clear that Andrei does know exactly what he's saying here, right? He's happy to give Libby an ultimatum. They move or they separate. To that, surely there can be no confusion. Now, hold on to that for a little later. That becomes super important. And it's also very notable that all of the guys are appalled. They can't quite believe what they've just heard. And later on, at dinner, the girls all have questions for Andrei too.
Can you really, truly say, I can see my children growing up in Moldova?
I don't know.
I think
I'm not
Moldova
even
is nice,
fluent.
but not for you.
Yara really doesn't think that Libby's going to be able to adapt, but of course, Andrei doesn't agree. He says she can just work online remotely. It's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper to live there. We decided to move to the States because it was right for that moment in our life, but now it's time for us to try something different, he says. But he also goes on to say, I won't force her, but I do want her to try the move. And it's at this point that all of the guys pipe up.
I'm not forcing her to move.
But you literally told us that you're gonna make her move no matter what.
No,
you're gonna give her an ultimatum.
I didn't say an ultimatum, but
You
I said...
literally used that word.
Okay.
I kind of love how shocked Andrei is that his own bravado is coming back to bite him in the ass. It's funny, isn't it? He sure did have a lot to say to the guys when they were in private, but the second it's been raised in a public forum for the ladies to hear too, for Libby to hear too, Andrei quickly tries to backtrack.
Do you know what that word means?
Yeah, it's kind of like saying when you just want something to happen, and it's like, like if you support consequences if you don't, I guess.
Yeah, he's trying to completely downplay it. He's acting like he didn't understand just how serious what he said was. But, I mean, come on, he knows exactly what he said. He literally said that he was going to leave her if she didn't fall into line. I mean, it doesn't get more serious than that. Now, when Loren tries to get Andrei to see Libby's perspective, try to understand how she might feel about that, Andrei has no time for that at all. Like, he keeps on cutting Loren off, he keeps on interrupting her as she speaks, so much so that Loren's friend gets annoyed. She tells him to stop.
Do you know me?
No.
No, you don't know me, okay.
You don't know me either, but it has nothing to do
I want
with
to listen to Loren. Okay, Loren.
I mean, the guy, everything about him is rude, but when he does eventually stop for a split second to allow Loren to make her point, Loren passionately tries to make him see that from a woman's perspective, more than that, from a mother's perspective, such a big move could have a drastic impact on his family.
Going to another country is a big move, Andrei.
Stop bringing the mama bear subject.
What?
Andrei.
Yeah, stop bringing that stuff.
I just don't get it. Why is anything that she just said, why is another woman talking about her experience as a mum so triggering for Andrei? Could it be, perhaps, because this is something that he can't argue with? Whatever the case, Loren isn't going to let him get away with it. It's indisputable. Being a mum does have a huge impact on a decision like this.
If the mom is not good, the kids are affected by it.
But
and
what's
if the
wrong
mom,
in Moldova?
But Libby would be a stay-at-home mom taking care of your kids. If Libby cannot do that, don't talk about bringing mom in there.
If Elizabeth isn't happy, then it will affect the way that the whole family functions. She's the one that's going to be at home, a stay-at-home mum in Moldova taking care of the kids. Of course it's going to have a big impact on their day-to-day life. But since he can't argue with that, since it is a fact, Andrei counters by saying that it affects the man too. Us moving there will help us all financially, he says. Problem is, Loren, you just don't have the capacity to understand that.
Where the money comes from your husband?
I make my money, don't even.
No, you don't make your
Really?
money.
You
no,
know
because
my
Alex makes
finances.
you. Alex,
She makes money too.
My gosh, if this is how he speaks to a woman who does contribute to the household income, can you just imagine how he'll treat Libby if he's the only one that makes money? He'll literally think that he's the boss of everything, even worse than he currently already thinks that. This really could be a disaster, and Loren's friend is sick of Andrei.
You're a prick, and you don't deserve
Okay,
even
let's calm down a little bit.
No, that is gross. You don't deserve a visa, asshole. That is an asshole.
Now, I don't know what reason this lady has to get so fired up about it, right? But she's clearly done with Andrei speaking to women like that, and she's out. Her outburst has left everyone shocked. But one thing's for sure, this conversation doesn't end here. This will be the central theme, you feel, for all of Libby and Andrei's storyline this season. And one thing's for sure, one thing history has taught us, if Andrei doesn't get his way, he'll go out of his way to make life hell. Strap in, folks. You get the feeling Libby is in for a turbulent ride.